Hello guys, it's me, Duncan, with your The Tech Adventures. And today we're going to be looking at CPUs. What is a CPU, you may ask? Well, it's the central processing unit of a computer. It is placed right smack dab in the middle of the motherboard, and it handles basically everything that isn't graphics, because the graphics in a CPU suck. Anyway, so CPUs have been around since 1971, introduced by the famous Intel. It was called the 4004. It was just a little stick. It looked like a USB drive, as what you would see today. Out of 4 pins, it kind of looked a lot like actually one of those micro bug thingies that vibrates around and goes thingy. So, yeah. But it did that, and it was actually pretty advanced for its time. It was pretty big in the time, and it was pretty much one of their first CPUs. AMD, on the other hand, which is another company, which stands for Advanced Microprocessing Devices, I believe, their first CPU was the K5. The K5 was introduced a while back. I don't know the exact date, but, you know, it was very low on the spectrum. Now, the way CPUs are measured is by their cores and their different, their cores and their speed. The cores are basically like, it's hard to explain. There's 4 parts of, for most CPUs, there's either from 1 core, and I think the biggest CPU has 12 cores. I'm at 18 cores. And it's made by Intel. So, figures. Anyway, what it is it's a core, and it's like a part of the CPU. If there's 4 cores, it's a quarter of the CPU. So what it does is say, it runs applications off of it, and it's kind of like just a section. It's like a section of the government that runs a part of something. So like your operating system may be ran on the first core, your second and third core are ran with a game you're playing, because most games are dual core or more compatible, and the 4th core could be something like you're recording or you're streaming. So each core represents part of the CPU. So depending on how many cores, actually, it just shows how many things you can do. Pretty much it's just like multitasking. It helps with multitasking. So there is AMD. On the AMD side, a lot of their CPUs are they're fast, and they have a lot of cores. They're kind of good. That's just because they have a lot of speed, which is in gigahertz. So the first CPU, I think, was in megahertz, correct me if I'm wrong. But now, stock CPUs, like the AMD CPU, like one of them, it has a stock clock speed of 5 gigahertz. Now, that's how fast information is being thrown through the CPU. But AMD has a reputation for having cheaper CPUs. There's an 8-core, 5 gigahertz stock processor with 8 megabits of cache, which cache is like when you go to your history of your Google Chrome, because everybody uses Google Chrome. Who wouldn't? People that are Apple. Anyway, like I said, you go to your history, and the cached memory is what it remembers. So that's why when you hit Y into your keyboard, it comes up with YouTube. And it's memory that works like that. Also, this happens with games. And what that does, and programs, so they can load faster. It basically remembers a little part of the program, and it boosts with the RAM, and makes it better. So basically, AMD and Intel. They are the David and Goliath of CPUs. They're really the only big CPU manufacturers. There might be a couple others, but that's what you'll see when you walk into Micro Center. You'll see AMD, Intel, and there's just like literally sides for both, and they're at this brawl. Intel is more of the speed, like the efficiency and how they work, and AMD is more of the size. Like, you'll get, for $250, you can get an 8-core CPU that's 5 gigahertz, and that's pretty fast for a stock clock. Mine is an AMD. It's an A8. What that is the A stands for APU, which is Accelerated Processing Unit. What it is, you've heard of integrated graphics. It's when the CPU runs graphics. It's not good for Intel because they haven't gotten to that point yet. I don't believe. They might. Correct me if I'm wrong. They might have one, but I have the AMD A8 6580M. What it does is it's 3.5 gigahertz on the CPU and a gigabyte on the graphics. So it's like a graphics card mixed with the CPU. This is good for stuff like laptops. For desktop, not so much. It's poop, but it's really cheap. It's 4 cores. So I've gotten it overclocked to 4.1 gigahertz. Now what overclocking does is it makes your CPU run faster. So you can just go about how you want with it. Now on the Intel side, there are very many CPUs they sell. Now you'll notice their stock clocks are lower for a higher price. It's how they are built, and they can actually withstand more temperature, and quite frankly, it's kind of a choose your battle. For example, on an AMD 3.5 gigahertz APU, as I said, it's about $200. For a 3.3 gigahertz i7, which is their 7th generation CPU, i7, 5820K, it is $390 for a CPU. But then there's the insane people who buy insane things like the i7 5960X 3 gigahertz processor. It's only $1,000. You could buy Titan Z with it. You could buy 2, I believe, 2 or 3 GTX 970s. But why is it so low? I have no idea. The speed, it's slow. But it's just how you think of it. CPUs have been around, like I said, since 1971, and I think, in my opinion, we are going to reach this point where it's just going to stop. It's just going to... We can't throw information through metal anymore. Now, there's this one processor made by AMD that is, Intel, that is 18 cores. I don't know how expensive it is, but it's insane. It's... It makes you kind of go, no.
No. No. She wasn't ready. She wasn't ready.
No, I can't because, you see, I kind of tried to spend money on my Jeep.
I said I would, but the way my bank account is set up, the thing is, I got a checking in the savings, but all the money is in my savings. So I got to switch it to my checking, but it's going to take 3 business days. I don't think it's going to go through.
Sorry. No, that's what CPUs are. To sum it up, central processing unit. They control stuff. They think for you, your computer. They're known as the brain of the PC. And they're smack dab in the middle of your motherboard. In the middle. I am not even lying. So, with the Tech Adventures, I'm Duncan, signing off. Peace.